We've all heard Muslims say things like Aisha was pubescent to defend this disgusting thing that she was 9 years old when the marriage consummated. While it is completely disgusting and doesn't solve anything, she wasn't pubescent at all. This thing they keep telling is already disgusting. Yes, it is already stupid enough. Not a 9-year-old is still a kid. Totally, they look like a child. Nothing about them is like a an adult. Nothing about them can be considered as adult, and they think they solve something here. Yeah, we just define her as adult. In Islam, if you hit puberty, you're considered adult. They think they solve something. This girl who is literally a kid, we just change the definition. We just define her as adult. Problem solved. Anyways, like I said, when we look at more deeper, it gets more darker. It gets more disgusting. First of all, there is no such thing that she was pubescent. First of all, this thing they keep telling, there's no such thing. There's nothing, no hadith or anything that says she was pubescent. It is something they completely pulled out of their asses. On the contrary, there are many things that make it clear she wasn't pubescent at all. First, it is rare for a girl to hit puberty at the age of 9 in a hot climate, even today, in a time that everyone was having health issues. Life expectancy was so low. Everyone had malnutrition. Even the wealthiest people had malnutrition because it is just the time. So even this makes this almost impossible because malnutrition decreases the speed so much more than hot climate increases it. There, this claim of Muslims goes to trash, like where they say, oh, hot climate increases it. In hot climates, girls hit puberty earlier. How much it can increase it? Even today, we don't see it that much. Almost none, actually. How will she get hit puberty easily at the age of 9 at that time? It is actually a norm of that time for a girl of that time to hit puberty at like 15, 17, or even 20s. It was normal for back then. We digged a little deeper and we saw it is actually even more harder. We thought she was pubescent, but she is still so young, 9-year-old. How can they be considered adult? But we dig deeper and it gets worse. She wasn't pubescent. It is so hard for her to be pubescent at all. And then we will dig deeper and it will get worse because when we look at hadiths, there are many hadiths, Aisha, because when we look at hadiths, historical accounts, Aisha was actually even less healthier than an average girl of that time. She constantly there are multiple hadiths, different heavy sicknesses she gets. She loses hair. She was so weak that her mother feeds her so she can gain weight and get ready to consummation. And in that hadith, she says, my mother gave me cucumber and some dates for me to gain weight. So that is the food they eat to, gain weight. So in that time, even the wealthiest person will get malnutrition, will be in malnutrition. To gain weight, to someone is so sickly underweight that you give them some cucumber and some dates. That's what you can find. So at this point, it is completely clear that she was so little to make the marriage consummated. There are multiple hadiths where she mentions how sick she was. She couldn't comprehend what's going on. She couldn't walk. People carried her. She got sick so many times. She was losing hair. There is another hadith that says she was losing hair. She was so sick, so weak. She was losing hair. Other wives describe her so little, so weak that she could easily be lost, and you wouldn't notice her. You wouldn't notice she was lost. There are multiple things that they mention she was. I mean, you understand from that context of that uh, hadith, those hadiths, that it was abnormal weakness for that time, for that girl. That weakness, that smallness. This girl is so small. This girl is so weak. It was an abnormally weakness. Not just a child. Child is so weak. No, that's not it. She was weaker. She was unhealthier than a regular 9-year-old, a regular 6-year-old girl. And we also understand why there is a 3-year-old part. At 6-year-old, she would just die because she was too weak. She gets some weight. She gets into some shape, still weak, but get into some shape to, bear this consummation. That's the reality. They don't tell you any of those things. Oh, she hit puberty. Her body was ready. According to what you're saying that she was ready. Nothing. Nothing. Everything we have, every account we have shows she was abnormally weak. 9-year-old is already so little. Even 11, 12, 13 years old, still 15 years old. Still, a person would feel repulsed. You wouldn't get attracted to that person. The things, compare the scenario they try to draw in our minds and the reality. They talk like, oh, she was, at the moment she hit puberty. We absolutely know this. Okay, there are multiple accounts like yes, I saw she menstruated. You would believe that, oh, 9-year-old looks like a mature woman. 9-year-old looks like a mature woman, and it is just a legal principle, They just made it 18. But actually, 9-year-old completely looks like a mature woman. That's what you think. But in reality, Aisha was probably so little that most pedophiles would find too little. That is the actual case. Let that sink in.